said, we don't think all private equity is treated equally. I think a lot of the media tends to focus on the large buyout part of the market. These are all the headlines you read about companies being taken private. When you look from a dollar value perspective, this should be getting a lot of attention because it is where 70% of capital flow for private equity buyout investment. But then when you look at the number of companies in this part of the market, it's only 1% of companies by number. So we think it's a pretty efficiently priced part of the market. You've got a lot of cash chasing a smaller number of companies. There's a lot of price discovery and a lot of efficiency in that part of the market. So from our perspective, of course, you might still find interesting company opportunities in that part of the market, but we do think they're quite efficiently priced. When you look at the small to mid-cap part of the market, and here we define this as companies less than $1 billion of enterprise value, you're only looking at 30% of dollar by number, but you're looking at the other 99% of companies by number. And these are heavily fragmented markets. So in the small to mid-cap private equity part of the market, it's not like you can sit behind a Bloomberg terminal and buy these companies. You have to sign non-disclosure agreements. Often we're investing into countries or regions with language and cultural barriers. So you need to have a team of experts who understand the local language, understand the local culture, and can find those interesting opportunities in that lot more fragmented part of the market. And when you look at the purchase prices for these companies in the chart on the right-hand side, you can see there is a structural discount in the small to mid-cap part of the market. And as I said, that's not something that can be arbitraged away because of the way of accessing these companies. So there is a sort of return on effort metric. When you look at the big Aussie super funds, they've got hundreds of billions of dollars in assets under management. They have to write huge checks to keep deploying the millions of dollars they're getting every day through compulsory contributions. So they're really reserved to the larger end of the market, just from an investment and then ongoing valuation monitoring perspective. About $100 million check size is where we tend to tap out. So, we're not competing with the big guys. And, interestingly, I think for you all as financial advisors, I'm sure your clients all look at the returns of the superannuation funds and make sure you're sort of comparing. We think private equity is one part of the market where you actually can have a leg up on the superannuation funds because of that size differential. And we've got the stats to prove it. So when you look at small to mid-cap funds, as we said, sort of 30% by dollar value to invest into these companies. But when you look at top quartile performers, they make up almost 50% of top quartile performing private equity funds. Similarly, when you look at the number of funds in this part of the market, 79% of funds by number, but 91% of top quartile funds by number are small to mid-cap funds. So even if you just throw a dart at a small to mid-cap fund, you've got a better chance of getting a top quartile performer than if you're just restricting yourself to the large buyout part of the market.